I've never forgotten that dinner. Candlelight flickering. A sentence said so softly, yet sharp enough to break a daughter who had spent years trying to be strong. We only have enough for one tuition, and that child is Chloe. My name is Isla Morgan. I'm 24. Graduated with honors from a top university. I washed mugs, poured coffee-filed spreadsheets, lived in a dim room barely big enough for a bed just to stand on that graduation stage. My parents didn't look at me when I walked up. But when the applause erupted and the dean began listing my achievements, they couldn't help but lift their heads. That wasn't just graduation. That was the day I stepped out of the background and rewrote the story of who I was. The name Chloe Morgan echoed across the largest graduation hall at Eastwell University. My entire family rose instantly. My mother waved through tears, her voice trembling with pride. My father clapped like every sacrifice, every expectation had finally paid off. Chloe, perfect curls, radiant smile glowing under the lights, stepped forward as if the stage had been waiting for her all along. I stood a few rows behind her in the honors section. My hand clutched the slip with my name on it. I had practiced this moment in the mirror 100 times, steady steps, soft smile, eyes forward, especially when no one would be looking. The announcer glanced down, valedictorian of the business school, Isla Morgan. I walked, and no one from my family stood, no clapping from my father, no proud tears from my mother. The Morgan family row remained still as if the name just spoken didn't belong to them. I kept smiling. No nerves, no pause. I'd grown used to this, but this time everyone else noticed. From the stage, I caught sight of Chloe standing at the far end. She clapped slowly, hesitantly. Her eyes darted toward our parents, then back to me. There was something in her expression, something that sagged at the edges like for the first time she saw me. I took the diploma, nodded, and turned to leave. Each step off the stage felt like a quiet incision, not deep enough to bleed, but sharp enough to linger like salt against skin. Because I knew with aching clarity, they once said Chloe is worth investing in, and you're not. I still remember that night, the dim kitchen light, the lingering smell of roast chicken, the off-white napkins folded just so. My father sat with arms crossed. My mother was refilling Chloe's plate. I had just received my acceptance letter, business program, Eastwell University. I barely got the words out before the front door opened and Chloe burst in. I got into political science at Eastwell. The rest of dinner wasn't for me anymore. They opened champagne. They called relatives. I sat quietly listening to the toasts meant for someone else. 2 weeks later, my father said the words, "I'll never forget. We've saved enough for one tuition, and Chloe's always shown more potential. Investing in her will bring clearer results." My mother touched my hand gently, as if pity were enough. "You've always been the independent one. You'll find a way." And then they turned back to Chloe's course list and housing forms. I sat still, silent. It wasn't a rejection. It was a quiet verdict. No crime, no trial, just not chosen. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I excused myself from dinner, went to my room, opened my laptop, and typed, "How to put yourself through college when your family won't help." That was my beginning. Not with a dream, but with silence from the very people who were supposed to stand behind me. We grew up in a house that looked warm and picture-perfect on the outside. Dinner was always served on time. The hallway was lined with framed family photos. Everything appeared in order. People used to say, "What a lovely family," but there are things photos can't show. In every picture, Chloe was at the center, smiling brightly with her winner's ribbon or brand new piano. And me, I was off to the side, holding a bent sketch pad, smiling just enough to ask permission to exist. I wasn't jealous. At least I didn't think I was, because from a young age I was told I was the strong one. Chloe had bouncy blonde curls, a voice that turned heads, and the kind of charm that didn't need effort. Whenever guests visited, Mom would call Chloe out to perform her latest recital piece. And me. If I happened to walk through the living room, I'd hear Isla, "Don't interrupt." Chloe's focusing. Chloe's birthdays were events, pastel balloons, 3-tiered cakes, gifts spilling off the couch. Mine were quiet family dinners. "We're keeping it simple this year," Mom would say, "so we can budget for Chloe's ballet lessons." Anytime I questioned why everything tilted her way, Mom would stroke my hair and say, "Because you're Isla. You don't need as much. You're the independent one." It sounded like praise, until it became an excuse for everything I wasn't given. Chloe took ballet, piano, drama classes. I learned how not to ask for more. I remember when I was 8, I won 3rd place in a school art contest. I brought the drawing home, eyes glowing, holding it out proudly at the dinner table, while my parents got Chloe ready for her dance recital. Dad glanced at it briefly. "Nice drawing, kiddo. Don't forget to remind your sister to pack her extra tights." I folded the paper and tucked it into my desk drawer. No one ever asked about it again. But then, there was Grandma. Evelyn. My mother's mother was the only one who truly saw me. Every summer I stayed with her in her little lakeside cottage by Cedar Lake. No Wi-Fi, no schedules, no curated programs. Just her, me, a sketchbook. And silence. She'd sit in her worn wooden chair knitting. I'd sit beside her drawing wildflowers along the water or the old rowboat tipped under the maple trees. Whenever I finished a picture, she'd study it quietly, then say, "You have a way of seeing things, Isla. Beauty isn't about perfection. It's in the courage to see differently." I didn't fully understand what she meant then, but I remember how it felt to be seen without needing to perform. In her little library, I discovered old books about design business and women who built empires from nothing. I started jotting down notes, sketching ideas, dreaming about something I couldn't name yet, but I knew it would be mine. When I came home each fall, I returned with worn notebooks filled with ideas. Chloe returned with another medal. Our family never changed. They still looked at Chloe like the sun, and me, like the shadow beside her, not quite a reason to choose, but in that shadow something began to grow, quietly, steadily, unnoticed, like a seed sprouting beneath snow, because sometimes the strongest things are the ones no one sees until they rise. I still remember how it felt to open that letter. My hands trembled not from fear but from hope. It was a thick envelope with a silver crest in the corner, Eastwell University, School of Business. I stood there for a second, then tore it open. The first line, "Congratulations," I cried. Quietly, no sobs, just silent tears falling through a smile stretched so tight it almost hurt. I brought the letter downstairs where Mom was setting the table and Dad was checking his work calendar. I held the letter up like a small victory, heart racing. I got into Eastwell. Business program. Partial scholarship. Mom looked up and smiled politely. "Oh, that's great, honey." Dad didn't look up, just murmured, "Congrats." I stood there waiting for something more. But that was it. 5 minutes later, the door opened. Chloe came in, heels clicking, glowing. I got into Eastwell too, political science. The air shifted immediately. Dad stood up, phone forgotten, beaming. Mom pulled Chloe into her arms, crying real tears this time. "We have to celebrate." And they did. Dad opened a bottle of champagne they'd been saving. Mom brought out crystal glasses. Dinner turned into a party. They called our aunt, our grandparents. I stepped back, unsure whether I should sit down or leave. No one asked what I was holding in my hand. My own acceptance letter crumpled slightly at the corner, squeezed too tightly in my palm. We ate to the sound of laughter and toasts. I barely touched my plate but smiled on cue, partly out of habit, partly because I was already used to disappearing. And then, as dinner wound down, Dad tapped his spoon against his glass. Now something important. The room quieted. Dad folded his hands on the table and spoke slowly, seriously. "We've been saving for college for years, but the truth is, we only have enough for one tuition." I turned to look at Mom. She didn't meet my eyes. Chloe kept smiling, oblivious to the shift in tone. Dad continued, "And Chloe is the clear choice. She's got direction, real political potential. Investing in her makes the most sense." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My throat went dry, my chest tightened. I managed to keep my voice even. "What about me?" Mom turned toward me, her voice soft, almost gentle. "You've always been the independent one, Isla. You'll figure it out. You always do." I swallowed a bitter laugh. I wanted to ask, shouldn't the independent one be the one most worth helping? But I didn't say anything. They'd already made their decision. There was no discussion. That night, I went upstairs, closed my bedroom door, and sat on the floor. No music, no lights, just me in the dark, listening to the sounds downstairs, the laughter, the clinking glasses. No one knocked on my door. No one asked, "Are you okay?" I opened my laptop again, but this time I didn't search for how to apply for student loans or self-study marketing. I typed how to build something from nothing when no one believes in you. I don't know when the tears stopped. All I know is that by the time I started sketching out my first budget spreadsheet, I had already let go of needing them. I moved to Eastwell 2 weeks before classes started. There was no send-off. No family photo in front of the dorm. No dad lifting boxes upstairs or mom stocking my fridge. I drove myself in my beat-up old Honda, the back seat crammed with duffel bags, cardboard boxes, and a thin mattress wrapped in an old quilt. Chloe arrived with our parents. They rented an SUV, hired movers, and checked her into premium dorm housing. I rented a shabby apartment 45 minutes from campus, shared with 3 strangers I found through the university housing forum. My room had peeling paint, a leaky sink, and a window that wouldn't open. But it was mine. And more importantly, it was a beginning. The next morning, I started working. My first shift was at a cafe near campus. The uniform was a gray t-shirt and an apron that always smelled of burnt espresso. The job was simple: wipe tables, make lattes, mop floors. But after 8 straight hours on my feet, I collapsed on my mattress and fell asleep without even eating dinner. On weekends, I picked up shifts at a used bookstore, quiet, dusty, with jazz playing from an old cassette stereo. I loved it there, not for the pay, but because no one asked what I studied, where I was from, or why my parents never visited. My routine quickly turned into a survival chart: 5:00 a.m. Wake up, study for 2 hours. 7:00 a.m. Morning cafe shift. 11:00 a.m. 4:00 p.m. at classes. 5:09 p.m. Bookstore shift weekends. 10:00 p.m. 12:00 a.m. Homework deadlines. Then collapse, repeat. I didn't have time to feel lonely, but loneliness still found ways to seep in between the cracks. Passing by the dorms, I'd hear laughter, see students sprawled on grass yelling to friends. I wasn't jealous, I just didn't belong. I lived as if walking a tightrope every day, a test to see if I could hold it all together. But then something unexpected began to happen. I realized I understood the business coursework more deeply than my classmates. Discussions about budgeting, staffing, marketing strategies, these weren't abstract concepts to me. They were my actual life. One day in class, we discussed financial models. I raised my hand for the first time. The professor looked surprised. After I finished speaking, he nodded slowly. Very sharp, practical. "Where'd you get that data?" I just smiled. "From life, sir." I started writing things down, not just from lectures, but from my jobs, from conversations with shop owners, from late-night budget tweaks. I realized small businesses around campus needed help but couldn't afford big agencies. An idea formed: affordable business support run by students, designed for local stores. I didn't talk about it. I just started. A simple website, a short survey, a basic rate sheet, and one cold email. 3 days later, I had my first client, a laundromat owner who needed someone to manage online bookings. I took the job for 1/3 of market rate, but to me it was something taking shape. That night, I opened my notebook and wrote: 1. Don't wait for permission, build your own doorway. 2. Success doesn't need to be loud, it needs to be steady. 3. They don't have to see it as long as you know where you're going. I turned off the light and lay back on my thin mattress, back sore, legs aching. But in that darkness, I smiled, truly smiled, for the first time in weeks. Not because I had arrived, but because for the first time I knew I'd begun. I never set out to build a company. At first, I just wanted to survive, to pay rent, buy books, and have something to eat on weekends. But slowly, one client became 2. The first was the laundromat. The second, a tiny bakery that needed help designing a digital menu. The third, a barber trying to figure out online appointment scheduling. I did everything. For cheap. Quietly. No business cards, no LinkedIn. Just that student who's good with spreadsheets and can organize things. I studied. I worked. I drafted contracts by hand, taught myself bookkeeping on YouTube at night, and tried to remember that I was only 19 with no map, no mentor, and no one to call when I had no idea what I was doing. Every time I had a little money left over, I bought sleep, dropped one shift, added eggs to breakfast, afforded a weekend without a second job. Luxury looked like 8 hours of rest or a dinner with protein. By the end of my second semester, I had 3 recurring clients, a basic operating plan, and a few curious classmates who wondered why I was always too busy to hang out. I started hiring them hourly, paid them on time, assigned tasks clearly. The invisible girl was now quietly running a miniature system. I named it ClearPath Digital. Nothing flashy, just something they'd remember. One afternoon after class, Professor Bennett, my business strategy lecturer, asked me to stay behind. She slid a brochure across her desk, National Business Innovation Competition. "You should apply," she said. "Not because you're smarter than everyone else, but because you're actually living what they're still trying to understand on paper." I almost said no. No time, no travel budget, no confidence. But then I thought, if I don't stand up, who's ever going to see me? I applied. I submitted my real business, a low-cost digital support service for small, under-resourced businesses. A lean model, clear systems, already up and running. 3 rounds, 2 sleepless nights, 1 pitch deck taped together with cheap glue, and then I won. Not because I was the best speaker, but because I understood what it meant to stress over affording an employee's lunch break. Because I'd lived through choosing between textbooks and mobile data. Because I had built something without capital, without backing, without permission. The prize was a modest investment check, a university press article, and an email from the dean congratulating me. The school posted about me. They called me a rising entrepreneur. They added my photo to the homepage, tagged me in Instagram stories, invited me to a panel with alumni. And my parents said nothing. No call, no text. The picture of me holding the trophy standing under stage lights was shared over 500 times. But in the family group chat, not a single word was said. Chloe posted a photo from her latest political seminar. Hearts and comments flooded in as usual. I said nothing, not because I wasn't proud, but because I no longer needed applause from people who never clapped for me to begin with. I used to be the one cut off at the edge of the photo. Now I'm the one holding the camera. They don't need to see. I just need to keep building. In the fall of our junior year, one November night, I heard a knock at my apartment door. It was nearly 11 p.m. I had just finished drafting a budget sheet for a new client and was about to pass out at my desk. I opened the door, and there stood Chloe, laptop clutched to her chest, eyes red, that ever-bright face now shaken and unsteady. "I'm sorry it's so late," she said quickly, nearly breathless, "but I don't know what to do. I'm about to fail my thesis." I froze for a moment, not because I was surprised, but because I had never seen Chloe like this. "Come in," I said quietly. "Sit down." The apartment was small, 2 chairs and a single bed. I gave her my chair and poured what little tea I had left in the thermos. She opened her laptop and spread out a mess of drafts, notes, and a scathing email from her professor. He said my methodology section is fundamentally flawed. I have 3 weeks to redo it. If I don't, I won't graduate. I nodded silently and began reading. Misused terminology, weak logic, no cited sources. It was clear Chloe had never really grasped the material. I didn't feel triumphant, not even a little. I just felt sad. We started with the hardest part, rebuilding the framework from scratch. I showed her how to create tables, cite sources, check data integrity. We worked until nearly 2 a.m. Chloe fell asleep in the chair, still holding a red pen. I covered her shoulders with a thin blanket and stared out the window at the blurred glow of the city lights, like memories waiting to be named. That was the first night of many. Night after night, over laptops and loose-leaf notes, we slowly wrote not just her thesis, but something else we'd never had a conversation. One night, while I was reformatting her bibliography, she suddenly asked, "Why didn't you ever say anything about all the unfairness? All the things you went through? Why were you so quiet?" I paused, didn't look up, just said quietly, "I did say something." No one was listening. The room went silent. Only the sound of keys tapping slow, heavy. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't know. I really didn't." I turned to her. She looked just like me, only her life had always been lit with spotlight. "It's okay," I said. "I didn't need you to see me to know I exist. But thank you for finally looking." From that night on, things changed. Chloe began to ask me questions not for facts, but to understand. How did you survive these past few years? How did you even start your company? Did you ever want to give up? I told her not like a lecture, but like someone who had walked through fire and knew how long the burn could last. I told her about the nights with no sleep, the weeks with no proper meals, the days I thought I'd collapse under it all, and how I didn't. She listened, really listened, without interrupting, without defending. One night after I mentioned how I won the national startup competition and still didn't hear a word from our parents, she went quiet for a long time. Then she said, "I used to think you were fine because you never complained. I didn't know silence could be that sad." I smiled softly. I wasn't fine, but I learned to stand. And now, I'll help you stand too. 3 weeks passed. Chloe submitted her revised thesis. It wasn't perfect, but it was solid. For the first time, I saw her step out of the role of the perfect girl and into someone who could learn, admit, adjust. And for the first time, I felt like I had a real sister. Not a polished family symbol, but a person, someone who had fallen and finally learned how to look up with humility. Graduation day arrived on a morning that felt just right. The sun was warm, but not too hot. The wind carried just enough weight to make you feel alive. The air was thick with nerves, but not mine. I had been up since 5 a.m., not because of anxiety, but out of habit. I brewed coffee in my chipped mug, pinned on the hand-stitched scarf Grandma Evelyn once gave me, and put on a dress simple but crisp, a gift I had earned for myself after finishing my last client project. Chloe had texted, "Meet you at the assembly area. Proud to be graduating with you." I smiled. No long message. Just that, and yet it meant more than she could have known. My family arrived early. They'd secured priority seating near the stage, carrying balloons, flowers, and the oversized camera they'd always brought to Chloe's ceremonies. What they didn't know was that this time someone else would be on stage. The ceremony began with the usual speeches, congratulations, optimism, promises of open futures. Then the university president stepped up to the podium, voice echoing through the sound system. "Before we begin conferring degrees, we'd like to invite our business school representative and class valedictorian to the stage to speak." He glanced down at the card in his hand. "Please welcome Isla Morgan." I stood up. The crowd applauded. Some cheered. I even heard a whistle from the back rows. And in the middle of all that noise, I caught a glimpse of my family, frozen. My mother glanced around as if trying to make sense of what she'd heard. My father didn't move, lips pressed tightly together. Chloe turned back toward me, met my eyes, and smiled. Not with surprise, not with jealousy, with quiet, sincere recognition. I walked up to the stage. I wasn't angry. I wasn't nervous. I was calm, like a lake after the storm. Standing at the mic, I took a deep breath. 4 years ago, I came here with a second-hand suitcase, a student loan, and a dream so small, no one noticed it. I didn't have a send-off. No one called to ask how my first day went. No one checked if I made it okay. But I had one thing more powerful than all of that. I had resolve. I worked 2 jobs, studied full-time, and built a company when most people were asleep. I don't say this to impress you. I say it because if you've ever felt invisible, underestimated, or like your worth was tied to someone else's approval, remember, real success doesn't need a spotlight. It just needs you to keep going. I paused. No tears, no tremble, just the weight of truth. For a long time, I thought I needed to prove myself to the people who doubted me. But now I know the only person I needed to prove anything to was me. I stepped back as a wave of applause rose like thunder. As I returned to my seat, the president returned to the mic. His tone shifted sharper, more intentional, and before we close, allow me to share a few more words about Ms. Isla Morgan, this year's valedictorian. Not only did she graduate with a perfect GPA, She also won the National Business Innovation Competition and built a company that now serves over 20 local businesses. The most remarkable part, Isla paid her entire tuition herself without any family financial support. Not once did she miss a deadline. A beat of silence, then the entire auditorium stood. The applause this time was louder, not from pity, not even from admiration, but because everyone there recognized this wasn't a story of charity or luck. This was the story of a girl who had been overlooked and had risen so far no one could look away. I glanced toward my family. They were still seated, but this time they were looking at me, and in their eyes for the first time in 4 years, I saw something new. Not pride, not guilt, but recognition. The graduation ceremony ended in a flurry of congratulations from classmates, professors, even old group partners I hadn't spoken to in years. Everyone wanted a handshake, a photo, a word with the girl who made the business department proud. My family nowhere to be seen. I wasn't surprised. I didn't look for them either. That night, I received a message from my mother. We're hosting a family dinner at the rental house near campus at 7. Hope you'll come. Everyone wants to celebrate both of you. Just that. No apology, no mention of the speech, no word about the awards. I slid my phone back into my pocket and looked around the small post-grad reception thrown by the business department. Zoe raised her glass. To Isla, the girl who rewrote all the old rules. I smiled, nodded, but deep inside something shifted. I didn't go to that dinner for them. I went because I was no longer afraid of them. The dress I wore was one I bought myself. The shoes, once painful during my first year on my feet, now padded and worn just right. My hair was neatly pulled back. My steps were steady. I didn't walk in hoping they'd see me. I walked in knowing they finally couldn't avoid it. The door opened. The smell of roasted meat and the clinking of glasses poured from the dining room. My mother greeted me at the entrance, pausing ever so slightly when she saw me. "You came?" "I'm glad." I nodded. No smile. "Congratulations to Chloe." My father appeared next, voice trying for cheerfulness. "Today's truly special. Both our girls graduating." I didn't answer, but Chloe did. She stepped forward, stood beside me, and spoke loud enough for the entire room to hear. "My sister did everything you saw today, without a single cent from Mom or Dad." The room fell silent, like someone had muted the background music. A relative muttered almost to themselves, "Really, even tuition and living expenses?" I looked at my parents. My mother opened her mouth, perhaps to explain, perhaps to deny, but stopped. Maybe because she saw I no longer needed protection. Maybe because she saw I no longer needed them. Chloe remained steady voice, unwavering. "The whole family always said I was the hope. But the one who quietly went the farthest was the one we kept calling independent enough not to need anything." I set my bouquet down on the table. "I didn't come here to accuse anyone," I said calmly. "I just wanted to show up for the first time at a family dinner, without feeling invisible." My father cleared his throat and put his glass down. "Your mother and we've done some thinking. Perhaps we misjudge things." I said nothing. "Because belated recognition doesn't sting anymore when you've already found your footing without it," an aunt asked gently. "So what's next for you, Isla?" I replied simply. "I've accepted an offer from Alexander Global. I start next month, and my business is still running now, managed by a student team I trained." A cousin gave a low whistle. An uncle clapped my father on the back, half joking. "You've got a daughter like this and didn't brag sooner. Missed your chance, Rob." My father flushed. My mother looked down. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel bitter. I just felt light. As dinner wound down, relatives gave me hugs, told me they were proud of me. Some even said it twice. I'd never heard those words before, and strangely, when I finally did, I didn't need them anymore. Just before leaving, Chloe took my hand. "If you don't want to stay here, Grandma Evelyn and I are heading back to the old apartment. We could get ice cream, put on some music, just us. Like a different kind of family. One that sees you." I squeezed her hand gently. "For the first time, I don't feel like I have to go home alone." We walked out of that house side by side. No one stopped us. No one had to. Because this time I didn't need them to stand for me. I was already standing. 1 year after graduation, I moved into a sunlit apartment near the offices of Alexander Global. It wasn't luxurious, but the morning light spilled across the floors. The kitchen was small, just enough for toast and coffee. I kept the embroidered cloth Grandma Evelyn had given me hanging by the door, a quiet reminder of where I came from and how far I'd come. Work at the consulting firm was better than I'd imagined. I was assigned to a major project in my first quarter, and 6 months later I was promoted to lead a small analysis team. The pay was stable. The environment respected real merit. No one here cared if I had a family backing me. They cared about what I could do and what I brought to the table. My own company, ClearPath Digital, was still running. I left it in the hands of the student team I'd once mentored. They were growing it in their own way, while I remained a remote advisor. Each time they sent a monthly report, I thought back to that first email I'd written at 2 a.m., desperate and unsure, and smiled. Chloe now worked for a nonprofit focused on educational equity. She told me once I chose this because I know opportunity isn't handed out fairly, and I once watched someone survive that injustice. I didn't respond right away, just reached out and held her hand during one of our quiet Sunday dinners with Grandma Evelyn. One June afternoon, I returned to Eastwell University for the first time since graduation. I walked past the old library down familiar paths and sat on the bench where I used to eat lunch between jobs and classes. It was quiet, not with sadness, but with recognition. I wasn't Isla who tried to be seen anymore. I was Isla who had learned to see herself. That day, I met with the university's endowment committee. I spoke clearly I'd like to establish a scholarship, not just for students with high grades, but for those like I once was students who work late shifts, who don't have parental backing, but keep showing up anyway. I named it the Resilience Fund, Isla Morgan Scholarship. Not because I thought I was special, but because I knew had people not seen me, Grandma Evelyn, Zoe, Professor Bennett, I might not have made it. The scholarship was awarded for the first time that fall. The recipient was a 19-year-old accounting major working nights at a restaurant raising 2 younger siblings after her parents left. I didn't say much to her, just handed her the envelope, held her hand, and said, "You don't need to know exactly where you're going yet. Just know that you deserve to get there." She cried, not because of the money, but because someone chose to believe in her without needing proof up front. My parents now, they're trying. We meet occasionally, usually over dinner in a neutral spot where no one mentions the past unless I allow it. They no longer pretend. They no longer call what happened a misunderstanding. Recently, over one of those meals, my mother said, "You don't have to forgive us, but I hope someday you'll feel lighter." I looked at her without flinching. I'm not angry anymore, but I haven't forgotten. And maybe the best thing I can do now is make sure no one else has to grow up believing they don't matter. She nodded, said nothing more, and that was enough. I still wear the silver bracelet from Grandma Evelyn, a gift she gave me last summer during our trip to the lake. She'd said every woman in our family had to learn to stand before anyone held her hand. I touch the small charm often etched with the words, "shaped under pressure," and I smile, not because everything is perfect, but because at last I've chosen what I used to beg for from others, the belief that I am worth it. And what about you? If one day you realized that the people who were supposed to believe in you the most were actually the first to doubt your worth, would you quietly move forward or turn back to claim the place you deserved all along? Have you ever had to carve out a path alone, with no hand reaching down to lift you, only your own steady belief that you were meant for more? And if today you've found your footing, would you go back and light the way for someone coming behind you? Leave a comment. You don't have to share everything. Just one sentence, "I've been there," because sometimes knowing you're not the only one who made it through the storm is enough.